Hello, I'm Alberta Rose, and I'm a realtor with Heller Merch Realty in Vancouver. Today I'm in the neighborhood talking with Heather Wood. Heather is the owner of Interest Advantage Elite Financial Services, which offers clients a broad range of mortgage services and lending. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
My first question is, why did you become a mortgage broker?
Well, to be honest, I was a realtor for about 13 years and I needed a day off.
That sounds like a good reason.
Banks are closed on the weekends. I still work, but it's not the same what you guys go through.
I know it's funny because I can't remember the last time I had a weekend off unless you practically leave the country.
Yeah, even then you get more busy.
You do, always before you're leaving. That's what happens. As a mortgage specialist, what would you call your specialty?
You know, I do specialize in private lending and commercial lending, so I've done a wide variety of all types of lending in my, long career at it, but I like private lending because it's something that you can help people without having to go through the bank rigmarole. It's easy for people to get loans who would normally not get one through a bank.
So I suppose like with the high interest rates that we've been experiencing, that type of lending now would become a lot more important.
You know, it is, and the rates have not gone up on private lending. So you can get a private mortgage in the upper sevens, and you're looking at that for a bank credit line. So people are utilizing private lending more because you don't have to prove your income. You can have terrible credit. You can own multiple properties, which is really where the gap is. If you have more than a few properties, the banks start to dislike your application because you're not debt servicing the way you would if you didn't own anything.
Oh.
So, and now if you have more than 20% down, the rate for you is higher than a person who's CMHC insured. So you're paying the premium on the CMHC if you're going that route.
So in private lending, you don't have that premium to CMHC?
Nope. Private lending, they charge a fee, and depends on the broker. The fees are very arbitrary still. It's not really, it's regulated to an extent, but there are companies that gouge on fees, and then there's people like me that know the market and we keep it reasonable.
So would you always have your own list then of private lenders?
Correct.
That you go to?
Yeah. I have a lot of private lenders that I go to. The market's over the years probably quadrupled of the available private money because investors like myself, that's where we're putting our money too. You're getting a yield of 7-8% a year, and it's spread out over multiple properties, so it's kind of a nice way to invest your money.
Okay. I'm just wondering, with all the advances we've had in healthcare, technology, increased living standards, I read the other day that there's a 51% chance that a Canadian that is 65 years of age now will probably live to 92. So my question is, are Canadians ready for that long of a retirement? And is there help that you can offer them if they're not?
Yeah, they're definitely not ready. And you'll see that even how many are still working. So many people in their 70s, 80s still looking for part-time supplemental income. It's almost impossible to save enough money, especially in Vancouver, to retire. And no one really knows what that number needs to be. So it's virtually impossible. In the old days, our parents or whatever would sell our homes. Actually, my grandparents, you build your equity in your home, you sell your home, you go to White Rock, you go somewhere close, and your kids are all still here.
Right.
Now, we'd have to move to Boston Bar, which is still over half your retirement income for a condo there.
Wow.
It's ridiculous, right? So, no, people aren't functioning the way they should.
But if you do own a home,
yep,
and you have equity, I mean, I've always told my buyers that they should look at home ownership on just on a basic level that's a forced savings account.
100%.
And so when it comes now that you're at this age and you bought a property, say maybe in the early 90s here,
yeah,
I mean, the increase in value would be substantial. So how do you come into that to help people?
Well, reverse mortgages are skyrocketing. That's a solution for people that I think has a negative connotation in the past, and rightfully so. At one point, the only person doing reverse mortgages was CHIP, or home equity bank, but they at that time were a credit or trust company.
Okay.
So interest rates were double what you would pay at a bank at that time. They became a bank quite a number of years ago. I'm not sure exactly what year. And what that did was reduce the interest rate almost in half of what they would have charged previously.
See, my initial understanding of the CHIP mortgages, and I know a lot of people share this view, is that you eventually lose your home.
Yeah, it's not the case.
Not the case.
They lend up to 55% of the value, but that's scaled depending on your age. So if you're starting your CHIP at 55, you're not getting 55% of the value. That's, when you're 90 maybe, because you're not going to be there that much longer, and the bank obviously would not eat into your equity in that short period of time. But there's a lot of seniors right now that took credit lines or small mortgages at 2% to try to finance their lifestyle, maybe pay off credit cards. So they're in their 80s, they got $60,000, $70,000 in credit cards and credit lines, and now the rates are doubled on the credit line, and they can't afford the payments. So the only option is sell or CHIP, and reverse mortgage is a good option.
So what do they have to do then to get a mortgage like that? And are they insured, or
They're
what
not.
prevents them from losing their property? I guess that would be the first question that you don't want to make people understand.
Well, contractually, they would not lose. Let's say, just worst case scenario, the market tanked and you have zero equity left. The stipulation that's built into these mortgages is that you get to live in that property for your lifetime. So if there's zero equity left, you still get to live there until you pass away, and that would be the youngest survivor in the home.
So if you were a couple, if one passed away, the other one would
still be able to live there. So, and then the property would be liquidated, and any debt that was there would be eliminated. So the debt doesn't pass on to your estate. If there's equity, of course, that passes on to your estate.
And so if you have this, are there any other expenses? Like, do you have to keep paying your property taxes, or can you, because I know that's another perk for seniors, is that you can delay that until you've sold the property.
You have to pay it at the completion of the CHIP. So if you've been deferring, you have to have that CHIP pay up to date on the property taxes. Once the mortgage is closed, you may again elect to defer your property tax. The thing you have to keep paying is your house insurance.
Of course.
That's absolutely a requirement, and they will review it annually to make sure that you still have a policy in place.
And so then would someone that was interested in this just come and contact you, or?
Yes, that would be great. Obviously, that's how I make a living, right? I'm a commission person.
You deal with the Equity Bank?
I deal with several different lenders. There are two lenders in this space that I alternate between Home Equity Bank and Equitable Trust. They're both reputable lenders. Home Equity has been in the market a lot longer, so I think they have a reputation that is pretty hard to beat, where Equitable is newer in the space, but still very competent, and they're a good funding base behind them.
And so when you take an application, then I imagine what do you do? Have an appraisal done, or?
Correct.
The
appraisal is done by Home Equity Bank. It's probably the most crucial part of the process. So they sometimes do a desktop, but most times they're coming in to see the condition of the property and economic life remaining, what the market value of that property would be. And then after that, you get to choose product, what type of product that you want. And there's a variety of choices that you have. It's not all, take the money and then eat into your equity.
So is there an age of a property that wouldn't apply? There are still a lot of homes here in Vancouver that we would say they're lot value. Homes are livable, but I don't know if they've got a 20 or a 30-year lifespan left. Is that an important thing to consider or not?
Not really, because the value in the land is still equity in your home. So if it's leaking water and falling down, that could be a problem, sure. Which I've seen some like that. But, for the majority, people are it's a habitable property, and the equity is mostly in the land in Vancouver area, even where we live, a lot's $1 million.
Well, that's been great information on CHIP mortgage. It's also called a reverse mortgage, am I right?
That's correct, yeah.
So what is your most memorable experience lending? I mean, imagine you must have a lot of stories like realtors do.
Yeah. Oh, there's some, I mean, every incident is different. I prefer, like, I really enjoy first time buyers and seniors both because they're really into the process. You know, when people come to me and say, I'm an investor, I get nervous because a lot of times that when an investor comes your way, it's something they've taken a course in the United States of America and now they're investors. And,
Oh, no.
you know, those are challenging, right? So probably for me, if you're talking hazardous, those are the deals I really have to turn my spidey sense on and be careful that I don't hurt someone who's thinking they understand the market.
So do you have one that's, do you have an experience that stands out in your mind is you really help people do something that they couldn't have done otherwise?
Probably a lot. Like this, when we talk about this,
Like you always have happy endings, I would guess.
I do. I
That's
don't.
nice.
I don't enjoy not having a happy ending. You won't have a happy career,
That's right.
and it's something that you lose a lot of sleep over. If an issue's created that even you didn't create it, you're still. I feel a big sense of responsibility to make it okay for people. It's one of the biggest things they're doing in life. You know, I think the most memorable is a couple. They couldn't agree. They were fighting, bickering, split up. You know, then you become a marriage counselor. And you're like, okay, everybody come back. Let's make something. Yeah, let's fix it. You know, get something that everyone can agree on. And normally, I know for you too, probably you're dealing with one of the two of the couple. So it's important to include everyone in that happiness mode, right?
That's right. So what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
If you Google me, Heather Wood, Interest Advantage, you'll probably see pictures of me from the 80s. But yeah, you can.
Don't you love the 80s pictures?
Right?
I know.
My hair was big, still big, but you can phone or email or text, whatever you like. You know.
And I imagine you go and do the home visits then, especially when you're working on a chip mortgage for someone.
Definitely for seniors, chip mortgages, because it's a complicated process. We want to make sure everyone understands, you know, what's involved in getting married to that type of mortgage. And mostly the kids, like we welcome the family of the seniors to join us in those meetings because usually the pushback comes from a lack of understanding and a concern for the survival of the estate.
Oh, of course.
So, you know, we want to make sure everybody understands and feels comfortable getting involved in the transaction.
Well, I have to thank you. I know you have a busy schedule and to take time out to inform us of this financial tool that I think you're right, it's probably going to become more important as time goes on.
Definitely. I'm grateful to be invited. There's other things we could talk about maybe next time with the chip with regards to the investment opportunities for seniors as well in buying property using a chip mortgage, which is a really...
I have some time right now.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So what is that? They can borrow, are you saying they can take equity out of their house to fund something else?
Correct.
Oh, okay, it's interesting.
You know, a lot of people, I don't know about your kids, but my kids, their kids can't move out. There's just the cost of living has gotten to such a extent that $1 million house is out of reach for those young ones. But if people like myself were sitting on a couple $1 million in our equity, there's no reason we can't use some of that equity, tie it to the new property, and then you buy without payments. So you can charge your kids a reasonable rent. We're not giving them freebies for your grandkids, but the reasonable rent would cover the interest portion of the chip reverse mortgage. So everyone wins. You're not losing your equity in your home, you're using your equity in your home, which is really valuable to the generations behind you.
And you're also creating another income stream for yourself.
100%.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
So if you take, even if you don't have family and you take your equity out to buy another condominium, I don't know, I'm not in tune with Vancouver rent, but where I am, a basement suite in Coquitlam is $24.50 a month for the smallest, you know, hole.
Yes.
So that income itself generated would give you a really decent monthly supplement to your income.
So rather than just gifting the money, you
Yes,
can set it up that becomes a source of income.
absolutely.
Well,
And everyone benefits to
yeah.
that, right?
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, I'm going to end it here because this is a lot of information to have to figure out and to use. And so, Heather, for sure, when I come across a situation that I think that this would work, I'll absolutely put you in touch.
I'm here for
Thanks.
whatever. Even if it's just questions, feel free to call me.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Alberta Rose, and I'm a realtor with Hiller Merch Realty in Vancouver. So thank you for listening, and until next time, you'll see me around the neighborhood.